One language powers Instagram, NASA tools, and your next side project. The same language, not three different ones, one. And that language is Python. Released in 1991 by a programmer named Guido van Rossum, Python is now the single most used programming language on the planet according to the Stack Overflow Developer Survey. More people write Python than any other language. And once you understand why, you'll understand exactly how to learn it from your very first line all the way to building real professional software. So let's start at the beginning. What even is Python? Python is a programming language, which means it's a way of giving instructions to a computer. But here's what makes Python different from most languages. Those instructions look almost like plain English. When you want to print something on the screen in Python, you write print, open a parenthesis, type your message, close the parenthesis. That's it. No complicated symbols, no mysterious punctuation everywhere. The code reads almost like a sentence someone wrote to explain what they wanted done. That's not an accident. Guido van Rossum designed Python specifically so that the code would be readable by humans, not just machines. There's also something called indentation, which just means the spaces at the beginning of a line. In most programming languages, those spaces are just style, like putting a tab before a paragraph in an essay. In Python, those spaces are actually structure. They tell Python what belongs inside what. If you write a loop, which is just a set of instructions that repeats, the instructions inside that loop are indented, pushed a little to the right. Python uses that spacing to understand the shape of your code. It forces your code to look organized, which means it's much easier to read later. That's a feature, not a limitation. Now here's something that sounds complicated but really isn't. In Python, everything is an object. An object is just a thing that knows some information and can do some actions. A number in Python isn't just a number, it knows it's a number, and it can do things like tell you whether it's positive. A piece of text isn't just letters, it can tell you how many characters it has or turn itself into all uppercase. Even a function, which is a little package of instructions, is an object. This means Python has a small number of rules that cover an enormous range of tasks. You learn the rules once and they apply everywhere. Let's talk about the foundation, the basic building blocks you learn first. Variables are like labeled boxes. You put a value in a box and give the box a name so you can find it later. Data types are just the kinds of things you can put in those boxes: numbers, text, true or false values. Then there are 4 core data structures, which are just ways of organizing groups of things. A list is like a numbered shelf, ordered, and you can change what's on it. A tuple is the same thing but locked. You can't change it once it's made. A dictionary is like a real dictionary, except instead of words and definitions, you store any kind of key paired with any kind of value. A set is a collection where every item is unique, no duplicates allowed. These 4 structures are the building blocks for virtually every real program you will ever write. Then you learn conditionals and loops. A conditional is just an if-then decision. If this is true, do that. If not, do something else. A loop is a set of instructions that repeats, either a set number of times or until some condition is met. And then you learn functions. A function is a named package of instructions. You define it once, give it a name, and then you can use it anywhere in your program just by calling that name. Functions are how you stop repeating yourself. They're how you take something you figured out once and use it 100 times. Here's an analogy that makes all of this click. Learning Python is like learning to cook. The basics, knife skills, controlling heat, seasoning are a small set of rules you drill first. Once you own those, every recipe is just combining the same fundamentals in a new order. A web app, a data script, an AI model, those are different recipes. But you're in the same kitchen, using the same tools, following the same logic. You don't need to learn a new kitchen for every dish. Once you're comfortable with the basics, you start organizing bigger programs. This is where modules come in. A module is just a file of Python code that you can pull into your program. Python ships with over 200 built-in modules. That means before you install anything extra, you already have tools for reading and writing files, doing math, working with dates, connecting to the internet, and more. That's the standard library, and it's like getting a fully stocked toolbox on day one. You also learn how to handle errors gracefully. In programming, things go wrong, a file doesn't exist, a number gets divided by 0, a user types the wrong thing. Python has a system called exception handling that lets you catch those problems and respond to them instead of just crashing. Think of it like a safety net under a tightrope walker. The walk continues even if something goes wrong. Then comes object-oriented programming, which sounds intimidating, but is really just a way of organizing code around things. You create a class, which is like a blueprint for a type of object. Say you're building a program about animals. You make a class called animal, and it has attributes like name and species, and methods like eat or sleep. Then you create individual animals from that blueprint. A dog named Rex is one object made from the animal class. A cat named Luna is another. An inheritance lets one class borrow and extend another, so you could make a dog class that gets everything from animal automatically, and then adds its own dog-specific behaviors. This is how large, professional codebases stay organized and manageable. Now for the advanced stuff, and here's the key thing to understand about all of it. Every advanced Python feature is not a new language. It's a shorthand for something you already understand. List comprehensions let you build a list in one line instead of 5. Generators let you process huge amounts of data one piece at a time instead of loading it all into memory at once, like reading a book one page at a time instead of memorizing the whole thing before you start. Decorators are wrappers you put around functions to add extra behavior without rewriting the function, like putting a frame around a painting without touching the painting itself. Context managers, which use the word with, make sure things get cleaned up properly, like automatically closing a file after you're done reading it, so nothing gets left open by accident. And async and await let your program do multiple things at once, like how a chef can have water boiling on one burner while chopping vegetables on the cutting board, instead of doing everything one step at a time. These features are not tricks for experts only. They are tools that beginners grow into naturally, because each one is just a cleaner version of something they already know how to do the long way. And then there's the ecosystem. Python has a tool called pip that lets you install packages, which are bundles of extra code other people wrote and shared. There are over 500,000 packages available. For data science, there's pandas and NumPy, which let you work with huge tables of numbers the way Excel does, but with the full power of a programming language. For web development, there's Flask and Django, which let you build websites and web apps. For automation, there's Selenium, which can actually control a web browser for you. For artificial intelligence and machine learning, there's TensorFlow and PyTorch. All of these use the same core Python you learned from the beginning. The skills transfer directly. You're not starting over, you're just applying what you know in a new direction. One more thing worth saying out loud. A lot of beginners think they need to memorize hundreds of commands before they can build anything real. That's not true. Python's usable core, the part you actually need to hold in your head, fits on about 2 pages. Professional developers look up the rest constantly, every single day. That's not a sign they don't know Python. That's just how programming works. You understand the logic and you look up the details. The sooner you accept that, the faster you'll progress. Here's what lands hard once it all clicks. The Python a total beginner writes on day 1 and the Python powering a production machine learning pipeline at a major tech company are the same language. The gap between them is not a new set of rules. It's depth of understanding the same small set of rules. Every advanced feature is just a beginner concept seen from a higher floor. The ceiling was never as far away as it looked.